After Kyle Rittenhouse got away with murder, but this is what the verdict really shows us. The 2 week trial of Kyle Rittenhouse, who's an 18-year-old white male who murdered two men and wounded a third at the 2020 Kenosha protests, finally came to a conclusion on Friday, November 19th, with a disheartening, albeit predictable verdict. He was guilty on all charges, but the jury decided that they were gonna acquit him, which is bullshit. When Jacob Blake, a black Wisconsin man, was shot 7 times in the back by a police officer last year, the incident was caught on camera and immediately went viral. Blake was left paralyzed from the attack, and this came on the heels of the deaths of other police brutality victims like George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. Um, America was finally becoming consumed with outrage and outraged by how black people are relentlessly murdered and abused by the law enforcement. The unrest that erupted shortly after Kenosha and a few days after Blake's shooting prompted Rittenhouse to arm himself with an AR-15, illegally cross state lines, and he traveled from Illinois and placed himself in a volatile situation. As we've seen time and time again, black folks and other people of color are usually the ones on the receiving end of the injustice from our legal system. But during the trial, Rittenhouse testified that he went to the uprising to serve as a medic, which he had no experience in doing, and claimed that he was protecting private property, which he was not. His victims were his victims of the two people he murdered are Joseph Rosenbaum and Anthony Huber. Now, Gage Grosskreutz he shot, but he shot him, but not fatally. Rittenhouse claimed that he feared for his life and acted in self-defense. Yeah, bullshit. Despite that, two of the people he shot were unarmed. Grosskreutz testified he was armed with a pistol, according to NPR. But after 27 hours of deliberation over the course of 4 days, 12 jurors decided to make the wrong decision and acquit him on the 5 counts he was facing. He should have been charged with first-degree reckless homicide. He also should have been charged in the first-degree intentional homicide. He should have been charged on the first he should have been guilty on the first degree attempted homicide of the intentional one, and he should have also been guilty on 2 counts of first-degree reckless endangerment. As we've seen time and time again, black folks and other people of color are usually the ones on the receiving end of the injustice from our legal system, but it wasn't that long ago that the world watched the trial of Derek Chauvin, the officer who murdered George Floyd, with bated breath and was shocked when he was found guilty. But Floyd is gone, and justice can never be served for him or any of the other countless victims who lost their lives at the hands of the police. Not only does being black in America mean you can be killed at any moment for any reason, but if you publicly engage, if you publicly engage in allyship for black people, you can also be killed for any moment and for any reason. Now, Rittenhouse's victims were white, and as we know, whiteness has always meant special treatment and protection in this country. However, since their identity, which is ultimately a form of power, openly challenged people, structures, and institutions that uphold the white supremacy, their lives were quickly deemed expendable. And not only does being black in America mean you can be killed at any moment for any reason, but if you publicly engage in allyship for black people, you can also be killed at any moment for any reason, and in both instances, the law will proclaim that it was in fact your fault. Despite the catastrophe that is the U.S. legal system on Friday, President Joe Biden declared that he stands by the verdict, which I don't. He also insisted that the jury system worked, which it didn't in this case, and we have to abide by it. Some of the men Rittenhouse targeted used their privilege to advocate for the world's most vulnerable population of people, and died because of it. Ultimately, the jury system is useless if it does nothing but criminalize the innocent and exonerate the violent racist monsters like Rittenhouse. But with America's history, perhaps it's working the way that it was intended to be. So if you like the video, give the video a like and subscribe to my channel, RBW King, and also hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified when a new video comes out, and thanks for listening.